Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well. So in today's video, I'm going to be taking a look at every Mortal Kombat game, or at least all the main ones. I won't really be talking about mobile games all that much, but I will be talking about little spin-offs like Shaolin Monks, Mythologies, Special Forces, and talking about the most, the easiest way to play all of these games, and you will see that some of these games are ridiculously hard to play. Now before I get into that, just a quick update in MK1, there is a day left of the season of the Cryomancer, so if you want to hop in and get any seasonal skins, I recommend doing that now because, of course, as we know, next it's going to go to the Melina season, so if you want to grab anything, quickly do that. And of course, subscribe if you want to keep up to date with Mortal Kombat news videos, as well as just random rankings, lists, discussions, etc. So, first off, of course, we have to start with Mortal Kombat 1992. I can't say Mortal Kombat 1 anymore. This game is incredibly hard to play, and you're going to notice that's a theme with basically every game up until MKX. So, the first three Mortal Kombat games, of course, were on those original platforms, Nintendo, Sega, of course in the arcade, stuff like that, but they are really difficult to play, and now we know that they were originally actually going to be getting remasters. However, this was cancelled. You can play these games on like some websites, some are legal, some not, but they're not going to be the best way to play them. There is no real modern way to play them. The closest is the remasters that they were going to do that got cancelled. You can play the original 3 games on Xbox 360, but that's it. That's the only way to play them. I remember I actually played them on my Xbox 360. I feel like it was like a trial type thing where you could play it for free, and I remember I would do it and I'd have to like delete it or something and then reinstall it and play it again. Maybe I'm misremembering, but that is the only way. It was on the PS3 store, but it got delisted, so you can't play it there either. So really your only options are just some sketchy websites, and if you happen to have an Xbox 360, but it's hardly ideal. And that goes for the other 2 games in the original trilogy, MK2, MK3, or Ultimate MK3, really are all the same. When we look at MK4, I know that it is on Good Old Games, or GOG for short, and it's the same with the first 3, they're on there as well, I believe. I wasn't really able to go through and get access to that website, so maybe they might not be there anymore, but for memory they are. And of course, if you happen to have, time back then, you played them in the arcade, sure, but no one really has that now. Like, it's really hard to find arcade machines with classic MK in them now, unless you buy the arcade 1-ups. But of course, they don't have MK4 in them, so if you're looking for a specific title, it is really, really hard to find that. Yeah, MK4 just stuck to its original release, which, I believe it came out on the PS1. I think you can play it there. Then when we move up, quite a bit in quality to Deadly Alliance, there is no way to play these games because obviously they're too big to be on just a website on your computer. So you have to have a console to play them. But there is no way to play them right now, aside from the original PS2 releases. Now with Deception and stuff, there was, Unchained, like different ports, versions of it. But aside from that, I know Armageddon had something like that as well. But with this 3D trilogy, there is really no way to play them aside from just the original PS2 releases. And of course the original Xbox. It is crazy how hard it is to play these games, considering Mortal Kombat, likes to look back on their previous games, especially the classic ones, but even now with MK1, when they're adding in 3D era skins, you would think that it'd be a lot easier to actually see where these skins come from, be able to play those original titles, but you can't. They're really difficult unless you happen to have a PS2 or like an old Sega like I happen to have, but even then, that's a pain to have to set up just to play it, because the controls are all clunky. It isn't the most fun time. You definitely would prefer to be able to play those games with a modern controller, even if they weren't remastered. Now I do believe that all these games should be remastered, but I will get into that later in the video because we still have a couple of games to cover. So as you can tell so far, all of these games, you can still play them, but really inconveniently. I don't know how many people would be bothered to go through the effort of finding an arcade 1-up to play the original 3, keeping in mind that costs, I believe, $1,000. MK4 that's not a very good game, if I'm being honest. Some people might like it, which I understand, but is it really worth the effort firing up, a website to play the game and having to go through some sign-up stuff? I don't know. For me, not really. And then with the others, is it worth getting a PS2 and then struggling to find these games? Because for me, I actually got a PS2 because I wanted to play Vice City, and I also wanted to play Deadly Alliance, or I guess all of the 3D games. Luckily for me, I was actually able to find Deadly Alliance pre-owned, so I got that for like $5 or something. And I played it I've probably got like an hour on the game, because the PS2 controller I got the console secondhand, because obviously I don't want to pay for a new one, even though it wouldn't be all that expensive now, because I got it a few years ago now. But the controller was sticky, which is kind of gross, and yeah, it was really weird setting it up. Like, it felt very weird just having such an old console, and I could not be bothered to, as much as I like really wanted to play these games. As soon as I was playing with the controller, I just felt weird. When I play old games, it makes me feel sort of sick. I don't know why, but I definitely stopped playing, and I haven't been on the PS2 in like a year or two now. So why would I go back and try to find Deception and Armageddon and stuff when it just didn't really do anything for me? Not the games themselves. It was actually pretty fun to play Deadly Alliance, and I would love to play those other two a bit more someday, but it was just so difficult, And moving on now to DCU, MK versus DCU, I should say. It is really difficult to play this game too. Now, if you happen to have an Xbox Series X or S, whatever, you can actually play this and MK9 through backwards compatibility. However, you do need to have the disc, and it's becoming a lot harder now to find discs for older games, because places that sell disc games, like on the 360, Xbox One, all that stuff, they're going out of business for the most part. So in a few years, it's going to be near impossible. If you have a game on disc, if you're playing that game a lot, it's going to get scratched, and you're not going to be able to use it much anymore, meaning you have to go out and find another copy of MK vs DC, MK9, for instance. Eventually, you're not going to be able to find them unless you buy it online, and people will be charging crazy amounts for them. So they really need to go back and remaster them. But yes, you can play MK9 and MK vs DC on Xbox 360 and PS3. But for some reason, PlayStation's backwards compatibility kind of sucks. You can't play any of the old MK games, even if you have them on disc on PS3. It's not going to work on the PS5, which sucks, because that feels like something that should be an option. I don't know whether Xbox having that as an option is why they can't do it, but I don't know. It's sort of ridiculous, right? But it is what it is. And when you get to MKX 11 and 1, they're all available on the Xbox One and PS4, and now the current gen of Series X and S and the PS5. So all the last three are still available. And I said I wouldn't, but I'll briefly say it. All the mobile games, I believe, are still available, aside from Onslaught, which was taken down. You can't play that anymore. So as you can see, all of these are pretty hard to play. Like, it's a lot of effort to find these games and play them. Keep in mind, you have to pay a lot of money. Like with the original three, you're gonna have to pay a bunch of money. MK4 is just a bit inconvenient. Deadly Alliance 2 Armageddon is just needlessly difficult. You're probably gonna have to buy, there's a lot of things you have to buy, controller, the games themselves, the console, and then you have to set it all up just to, play with somewhat unresponsive controls again. Not as bad as like a Sega or anything for the original games, but still not that great. And then MK9 and DCU all should be on current platforms, but just aren't. Especially for someone who plays PlayStation, they're really difficult to play. So for me, I actually think that the next Mortal Kombat game, I think that they should really perfect MK1, give us more content, skins, gear. We won't get any more invasion seasons, but just give us more to do, give us more game modes and stuff, and end the game off on a high note so that we can focus on that game for the next few years. Because I would actually love if NetherRealm expanded their team a bit if possible, and had one work on Injustice 3, for instance, and then have a smaller team work on remastering all of the MK games. Maybe not all of them, like with Special Forces and Shaolin Monks. and mythologies, I did say I would briefly cover those. Those are all just, I'm pretty sure, on PS1, and Shadow Monks is on PS2, and that's really it. And of course, like the Xbox and Xbox 360, all that type of stuff. For some of them, I don't believe Shadow Monks is on 360 though. I believe it is only on PS2 and Xbox original, so still really hard to come by these games. So personally, I believe that if they focus all their effort onto remastering old MK games, I don't think it would take all that much time. Now, I'm not saying they have to remaster every single game, but I think that I would love to see at least the original 3, and I don't think they need to port them and fully remaster them, but I would love to see at least MK9 get ported over. It would be kind of cheap to ask people to pay a lot of money for this, but I would take it. If it's cheap, just port the game over so people can play it on modern platforms. I don't expect them to remaster every single MK game, in the next 10 years. I don't expect that, but I would love to see in the next 20, 30 years, I know it's a long time, but I would love to see them go through and just remaster all the old games that people really like. If it was up to me, I would love to have every MK game, especially just the main titles, be remastered instead of getting a new MK game. I really want to see these games be available so that new people can experience them, because it's really hard to play them nowadays, as I've just proved throughout this video. So I hope you all have a great day. Consider subscribing if you agree with me. Let me know what's your favorite MK game. Which one do you wish you could play right now on current gen? Let me know. But hope you all have a great day, and thank you for watching.